I know that some preferred that we cancel, but there's some things that we need to get rolling. And I think rescheduling becomes an issue then as well. So that's why I decided to go ahead and have it. I thought I was going to be late, but fortunately I was able to get back from Columbus and get here. So I think with the things that are going to be going over tonight, if there's questions, I think council needs to ask. I know Chad and I had spoke the other day, and I just think that, you know, there are council members who probably really don't understand the JED and the purpose of the JED. So I've asked Sherry to give us an overview of the JED and to help us out with that. And the other thing that Mark and I spoke about is putting the SPP and open that up. I know that Tom and Roger and myself had met. So that's why we that's why we wanted to get the ball rolling on this. And I know that, you know, I think if we're going to support the mayor and, you know, and we can better understand what's going on with the JEDs and versus annexation and what we want to do with the lobbyists. And I think this is a good night. I think a lot of this time will be eaten up, and I can see us probably having another conversation about this in the future. So probably at our next meeting. So Sherry, if you would, I know Roger's on his way. There he is. There's old Grouch right there. Sherry's going to inform us, and I think what she's distributed some stuff from the JED. I looked at it today, and I want to understand it better. I know that Chad said he did some research on it. I did, and I have a couple of questions myself. I just want to understand it and, you know, what's beneficial about it. So Sherry, if you want to go ahead, and hopefully you can answer some of our questions. We definitely don't expect you to be able to answer them all, but
right.
we just.
Well, and any of the legal ones, you know, Bob can, you know, chime in, but the JED, Joint Economic Development District, we have the Tusk Forest JED and the Franklin JED. What I just, I know I sent you the fourth quarter, and it gives you the year-end report that Danelle prepares every month when, you know, when that revenue comes in, or quarterly, that gets dispersed quarterly. But what I wanted to go ahead and give for you here today, and I passed out, you have the Franklin and the JED. It gives you a little update of the history from 2018, 19, 20, and 21, what revenue was collected and how it is dispersed. Prior to 20, the allocations were the townships received 30%, the Port Authority 20%, and the city received 50%. And then you can see where it broke down at the last renewal in 20, I believe it's a 10-year contract again. They added the project fund, and they switched the allocations around somewhat. So the township 25.5%, the Port Authority receives 18%, and the project fund receives 10%. That was a new part of the JED this time. And that project fund for each township, they wanted to have some money, seed money, for any large project that might happen within that JED. So that's why they agreed to everybody take a little bit less and fund that project fund, the 10%. And the city general fund 46.5%. When I say city general fund, actually it's the city. So you know our income tax rate is 2%. Off of that 2%, the 0.5% for the fire fund and the 0.5% for the safety, security, law enforcement fund comes right off the top. So that leaves the 1% then to get split up. And then that's that 1%, that's what that allocation is there on your sheet, the 25.5, 18, 10, and 46.5.
Right, so essentially we get 1.46.
Right,
0.5%.
right. And because
Instead of 2.
because the safety, security and the fire fund was all passed by the voters as an income tax increase, that money has to go to those funds. That's why it comes right off the top. We do collect, the city collects a very small administration fee to administer it. I don't know if I
Can you explain why the JED was introduced or why it was started
I
the
will,
first time?
on that, I would have to defer to somebody that was here,
That would be me.
before me. That would be,
I
I mean, I was,
council then?
I was probably on city council at the
Right.
time, but I mean, I'll let Bob go ahead and,
And you're talking a long time ago,
Mhm.
so I'm going from memory. but
Yeah.
Brad Ains was the mayor. And if I remember right, the ethanol plant was coming in.
Okay.
And the Port Authority director, who was later indicted, was working with Brad and working with the contracts with the ethanol plant and working on this Port Authority. All with basically no involvement or very little involvement of the water director's office. Or they just didn't take the recommendations of the water director's office. Because the ethanol plant contract was publicly by our office told not to do this contract. And we were called naysayers and everything else, and the contract went through. But basically, the purpose of a JAD is not a bad thing. The purpose is to bring development outside of the city, but the city still benefits it by some income tax collection. And had the ethanol project gone through as planned, it would have been a great thing for the city. Because there would have been many more jobs to pay the income tax that we would have benefited from. Plus, we were going to benefit from the water contracts that were part of that as well. Of course, none of that came to fruition, but in essence, the JEDs were created so that the city benefits by the income tax collection. The townships benefit because we provide the fire protection that is needed in order to bring these major contracts to the area. And the county benefits by bringing jobs to the community. And I suppose part of the idea is that when you're dealing with a city, there's not room for a major factory to come into town to bring in 3,000 jobs or whatever the mayor was thinking about at the time, which is another purpose of the JED, is so that these major factories would be attracted to the area. They'd have room to develop what they need to develop. They'd have maybe city sewer and water, city fire protection, but the city benefits by the collection of the income tax.
Okay, I have another question. So we have to take a loan to the city to run water to wherever, the ethanol plant. And then we're stuck with paying that loan by ourselves.
I believe that was sewer lines.
Yeah,
It was
no,
sewage
Or
district. It's not water.
whatever
Same
we're
idea.
running.
Yeah, I can answer a little bit, because I was on both sides of the equation.
Yeah.
I was actually working with the ethanol plant at that time period, the JED.
Mhm.
The city was informed, that plant was going to be designed as a zero discharge plant.
Right.
They elected to drill their own wells. So the only sewage right now that we receive from them is from their domestic wastewater facility. But from their process, it was, from the ethanol perspective, I don't know what the city was under the understanding, but from the ethanol perspective, when I was the environmental judge, I told my counterpart in the city that we do not, this plant is designed as a zero discharge. I think that's why all director recommended that contract not be approved. So you're correct. Is the funding source at the time was OWDA, and that is the loan that we can't get written off that we are paying.
Right. So I mean, my question is, does the loan that we get to supply water to Lafayette, is that part of the JUD too? I mean, no,
No,
okay.
no.
So if we go to Warsaw with water and we take out a $5 million loan, is that part of a JUD?
No, there's
No.
not a JED in that district. There's just
No.
Tushworth and Franklin.
Okay.
And the
Now,
main
I would
health
think
clerk
that
on
would be
that
some kind of negotiating point, but
Yeah.
that's not for me to
Is
say.
Max and I went to Warsaw, and talked to that council,
Mhm.
give them an estimated project cost, but I think $11 million, that sounds the right number, 10, whatever the number is. And Warsaw was informed, whatever grants and other stuff that we get for that, will reduce that price. But any remaining debt, they will have to pay a debt reduction fee to cover that cost. And that will be part of the signed contract, with them.
Okay.
To pay for that, because they were informed they'd get the same rates like West Lafayette did. And people ask why West Lafayette did, I was on that side there too, is why West Lafayette did pay a debt reduction fee. They brought $800,000 of cash to the table. Warsaw has $800.
Right.
So that's one reason there was, now West Lafayette is responsible if this council elects in the future to add new debt reduction. They are responsible for paying their fair share.
Okay.
So they just avoided this initial debt reduction. And that's also.
I just want to make sure with the JUD that everybody pays their fair share and it's not the city paying everything and then everybody else benefits off of it.
Well,
That's the only question I really have is,
here, from my gathering and my thoughts and the way it works. So what's going on now at Genesis out there within the JED, if they're not, because you can choose to be in the
Mhm.
JED or not to be in the JED.
Mhm.
So
The business
choose-
can.
Right, the
Right.
business can. So if you're not in the JED, we offer, and we have water that you're hooking into and we're offering, fire service. And if you're not in the JED, we get nothing. So there is a benefit for people being in the JED. From what I've just looked at overall is, the last 30, 40 years, we should have been talking about how we're going to grow our city
Right.
limits so that we are ready for something big to happen, and we haven't done that. So now it's just a catch-up
Mhm.
game of how do we get big?
now, can we annex the water going to the new hospital? We can't do that since it's lays in the JUD.
Right, in the JED, it's in the new JED agreement that got passed in 2019, there is no annexation.
Does-
in that.
Okay.
People that are on council, do you remember voting on that in 2019? I don't recall it ever coming before council.
The
I
agreement, the
was
JED
there, and
agreement,
I
it did.
remember, yeah.
It
I
did
don't remember,
because there- no.
I would have voted no because of the annexation issue. And I know when we discussed a possible renewal, it was said that the annexation part would be removed if, the part that says we couldn't.
I remember that. And then there was.
And but I don't-
question, and I don't know how it-
I don't remember it
how
coming to
stayed in
council.
Didn't
there.
get done. That
Yeah.
part did not get removed.
Well, New Albany's not wasting any time annexing the
Right.
land for the new Intel plant because they're providing all the infrastructure.
Can I
I
ask
think-
a
Go ahead.
I just want to ask a point of clarification there. I heard you guys say that a business can elect not to.
Yes.
I'm not real familiar, but I thought if they, there's the maps.
If the
of-
boundary is,
If
if
they're
you go in
in
the
the, if they're
boundary.
within the
right,
boundaries, they have no choice,
right,
correct?
Right, but if you're building near the boundary, and you're not actually in, like, there's set boundaries now.
Right.
So if you're building there, you're in the JED.
So is the Genesis outside of the boundary
No,
then?
the Genesis is inside.
So they had no choice. They
right,
had to be in
Right,
it.
they had, right.
Okay, I
And,
must
you know,
have
it's like,
misunderstood what you
New
said.
Point Church, when they built their building near Canal Louisville, they elected to go into the JED because basically the benefits we work, you have inside water rates, we help with tap fees, the things that if we're gonna benefit, we try to work together with whoever is going in the JEDs, but if it's already, the JED boundaries are already there.
Can the boundaries be ever amended to take in? Because to me, it's like so hodgepodge of part of this business is this one, the new old time country market, from what I understand, it's not within the JED, but then
Right.
here's this one right
Right.
next door who is. So I don't know
Right, and
how
that
those
would be-
boundaries ever came up.
Bob,
And
that
can
would
those-
be something that we would have to work with the port or like to extend those boundaries.
Expand the boundary.
Right, I think that, you know, as far as I'm concerned, what I've been told is if the business doesn't agree to be in the JED, then there's no way legal recourse you can force them to be,
Right.
like, to extend that JED.
Can we annex territory or land that surrounds the JED? Can we go around the JED with annexation?
Yeah, I see no issue with that.
When you say
But-
annex, that means make it a part of the city?
Exactly.
Right, but annexation has to be contiguous acreage, so it has to connect. So that's kind of looking at our incorporated map. It could be difficult because it's a jigsaw puzzle of where you can connect that.
I remember when the JED was initially proposed and Wade Lucas was the superintendent, I was the assistant. We called every council member and expressed our thoughts on the JED. And I think there was one council person that voted against it, and that was it. Because we weren't in favor. We were selfish in the fact we wanted some of the money to go to schools, which is the way it was done in Akron and a couple other areas. But we see, and then we were against the lack of the ability to annex, which I think is the biggest
Right, the
drawback of the whole
benefit,
thing.
the benefit to me is you're still getting something.
Something.
You know, with Genesis, we're creating jobs that could quite, those people buy a house here, they work here, they pay local income tax. But to me, on the grander scale, we need to really look at where we can grow and do that. You know, in New Albany, what had happened is the New Albany company, you know, to make a long story short, Les Wexner wanted to move to the country, so he told his friend, hey, we're forming the New Albany company, go buy land. So that's basically how New Albany happened, is the New Albany company came, they went in, they bought all the land, they annexed, and now here we are. It's
The
huge.
land that they're building on, they don't have yet, but they're going to annex it.
Right.
And I know Columbus did the same thing, in working with Dublin.
Right.
We'll provide your infrastructure, your water, sewer, et cetera, but we're annexing that area. And I just think that has landlocked us and our ability to move
Yeah, I
forward.
think we can't grow as a city if we're,
If we're locked into
Yeah,
these
we're locked
12,
into
however
these-
many square miles right
Right.
there.
That's what I was gonna say. Hey, there's parts of the JED that are good.
yes.
However, if people don't have a place to live, then we're losing out on the income tax.
Right,
And we don't have any place for people to live.
no.
So do we have options?
I mean,
To me, the conversation that I haven't had was with Doug Shoveloff, is with Bricker and Eckler. He's an engineer and an attorney, so I think he'd be an ally and assisting, because there is annexation with infrastructure connecting. I mean, there's the annexation laws. I think it's pretty thick on what you can and can't do, so it's kind of gonna have to be navigated by a professional in my mind.
Let me just, I think in my statement, I came off very negative towards the former mayor, and I don't want to blame him. Because at the time, he had state senators, state legislators, federal politicians, obviously the Port Authority, the state of Ohio, and their jobs creation, they were all in favor of this project. And while I wasn't against the project, or the law director's office wasn't against the project, we read the contract. It was clear that we were going to be the ones taking out all these loans
right.
in order to fund these projects, yet there was no guarantee from the main jobs that were being created, which was the reason behind all this, that those jobs would be created, or that the water would be consumed, or the sewer would be consumed. So that was our complaint, and it just fell on deaf ears. But I don't blame him a bit, because he had everybody in the world telling him they needed to do this project and how good it would be for this community. So I don't want to be negative towards him, because it was not his fault. And I would also just follow up what the mayor just said. annexation is not that easy to do unless there's willing partners. And
You're right, you have to get people, they have to agree.
Yeah.
So when, we're 50%, we have a whole nother 50% of this equation that we have to convince people this is why it would be good to do this, so.
Chad, you talked about the OWDA, the sewer loan for the ethanol plant. And remember also, former Mayor Steve Mercer negotiated, worked hard with OWDA, and that capitalized interest, a little over $1 million. He got them to apply that as a payment and to, reduce our principal balance down. And they restructured the loan, they took it out for a longer time, they reduced the interest rate and so forth. So we did, and, there's copies of the letters and everything, and, many trips were made to Columbus to lobby to get that done, and stated those exact same reasons that Bob said, because the state really pushed for this project back, whatever year that was, 2006 or so. I remember going on a train, jumping on a train with all the elected officials, and they drove us, we rode the train out to the ethanol site, and they had a platform in the middle of the field, and getting off the train there, and them having a groundbreaking. So, I mean, the governor was there, everybody, it was a huge event where we got on the train at the depot.
What the project fund money, what does that go towards? Can you give me an example? What it's been used for?
Tiffany would have to tell you if they've used it for anything,
So one of the initial projects, is especially with this ethanol, they've got this supposed contract with Gojo. They're gonna make a go of it. Is 271 needs redone. Where you make that big sweep curve off the ridge area. And it's trying to get this project fund built up enough where road repairs could be made to get the semis in and out. So.
I will say that money has to go into a separate account with the Port Authority. That came out through the course of their audit too. At first it wasn't, because they just didn't realize it had to be in its
A
own
separate
separate funding and account. So,
That's only
and
been
it's
there for 2
stipulated on
years.
what it can be used for.
So the Port Authority has control over that funding,
Over the project.
Is there-
The
but
board.
there's a board of
Yes,
directors.
they have a
Yeah.
board of directors.
Who is on the board of directors? You are.
I'm actually the
And then
chairman of
there's-
those boards.
Then there's someone from the
Township
township.
trustees, that's, Don Wells is on it.
Are you talking for the JEDs or the Port
Yeah,
Authority?
boards or?
No, I'm talking about the JED.
The
Okay.
Jeds, yeah,
I might have a list of,
Yeah,
5 of us.
Max, Don Wells, Tiffany, who else is on the,
Baylow, Denny Baylow,
Danny Baylor's on the Franklin.
and,
Is
one
it-
more.
Is the-
Stephanie Hoke from Tuscarawas Township,
She's the Walmart manager.
and Jared Adams
From the ethanol
from
plant.
Franklin.
Frank, yeah, Jared is.
Okay, so there's one board of directors for both JEDs.
Yes.
Yeah, and the 2
Yeah.
biggest employers each has a seat on it.
Right,
which
so
is
the
Walmart and the ethanol plant.
And Walmart are.
There's been no money spent out of the project fund, to my knowledge.
We collected a lot more revenue in 2018.
On the Franklin, the
Oh, still
Franklin,
wrong.
because that can be net profit for business. That year we received, it was around 176,000. Jackie had been going after them. They didn't realize they needed to file for a net profit. So they got themselves all caught up.
Okay.
So that's why it
That
was
like a lump
inflated
sum.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
That would have been the ethanol plant. I
Mhm.
thought.
It's coming back up though, from
Mhm.
12 to 17. So hopefully
And-
everything,
and Looking at the map, that our rolling hills and our rivers are beautiful to look at and to experience. But for development, they become an issue.
And maybe I'm misunderstanding this. The township, right, as of 2020, gets 25.5%.
Mhm.
The city gets 46.5. But under revenue collected, their amount is larger than ours. Why is that? Am I
Well,
misunderstanding that?
for ours, you have to add in the fire fund, the fire capital improvement, and the safety security. You have to add those all in. So
Okay,
in
so-
total, this is just total including those, if I remember that correctly. I don't have my, I need to
So we're
see
looking at
my,
almost 90,000, is what you're saying, Sherry, if you had to. The
maybe I'm
uh,
misunderstanding
fire
what Tom's
fund,
asking.
no,
No, that's
see,
what I
Tom's
was
looking
asking.
at these numbers here, but you're saying we need to include these
Right.
For
and add it to the 44.5.
Fire
Okay.
capital and then the general.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
what's our contribution to the Port Authority as a city?
55.
55,000.
So where do they get the rest of their funding?
I believe the county funds them the same amount,
And the JED.
Yeah, I think
55,
it's close to 50.
Yeah. then plus this
City,
revenue
yeah.
here from the jail. That's, I mean, that would be really a question Tiffany would be able to answer for you. Because I don't know for sure what the county gets them.
Anybody else have any questions?
Mark, the annexation questions or issues, is that something that SPP or a similar firm would be able to help us with or not?
Yeah, I think our most trusted person as of right now would be Bricker and Eckler, would be Doug, would be the expert. I mean, to me, it's like, I think SPP can help us with that, but I think the person with the most knowledge and with.
So they would help us with the legal part of it.
Right.
Bricker and Eckler and SPP or another similar firm could
Yeah.
help us with.
Right, if they would have someone that they.
The rollout or
I
whatever.
trust. I mean, Doug has helped us with West Lafayette. I mean, any issues,
All right.
he's good. I like, he's an engineer and an attorney, so it's kind of the best of both worlds. And that's kind of, his expertise is infrastructure, so he would be probably the expert in the field.
Well, I think, Mark, this is a good time to go into the SPP part.
All right. So.
Did everybody, I'm sorry, did everybody get that email with the copies and stuff? I brought hard copies as well.
I need a copy.
I'd take one if you had one.
Another one?
No, I printed it. I'm good. Thank you.
So SPP is Strategic Public Partners. It's ran by, I don't want to say that it's just a lobbying firm. Lobbying is some of what they do. I think due to what's happened with the pandemic, people wanting to relocate to areas like Coshocton, I think the home run in the state of Ohio was just hit out of the ballpark by Intel. And that's, if we could get a 4-lane highway here, you could be there in 50 minutes. So I think someone like SPP who has the ability to make things happen at the state level, I think where we're going, what we're talking about strategic planning wise with encompassing new areas within our city. I think, it's kind of a three-tier approach. Government affairs, communications, and strategic planning. When you look at corporate America, what they do is they market well. So not saying that we haven't marketed ourselves well, but for an example, I was on the phone with a former congressman the other day and told him his big push is he's working on outdoor recreation. and this congressperson actually represented our area, and I brought up Woodbury Wildlife Area, which is the largest wildlife refuge in the state of Ohio. And he was like, send me some information on that. And I'm like, wow. So, I mean, things like that to bring top of mind, like who we are, what we have here. The government affairs, sometimes there are plenty of organizations that help us. We appreciate, Jobs Ohio, Southeast Ohio, or Ohio Southeast, I'm sorry, Omega. We deal with a lot with the county and CDBG grant funding, but to have that person that is at the state house, that has the connection to not only state representatives, federal representatives, but to the governor and to the lieutenant governor, to have them by the ear selling our area is a good thing. I think we need to, definitely market ourselves, government affairs monitoring, in this business, it's about stakeholders and policymakers and getting funding. Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to funding. So when you have the pipeline to the stakeholders and the policymakers, and when you got a grip on those people, you're going to receive funding. And I think for a lot of years, we haven't done a good job. We've saved money on not having a person that is actually going to get the money. But that's all we did. We saved money and nothing's happened. So, as far as strategic public partners, they will basically come in and package us to sell us to corporations, to state policymakers, and, dealing with the governor, the lieutenant governor, Jobs Ohio, the legislative branch, all the organizations that we're in, and including the federal government. I believe that, when we get a strategic media planning, media pitching, strategic planning, with population growth, development, new businesses, tourism, historic preservation, definitely this organization will help us become who I think we need to become, and I think the price tag's big. I think that it's a huge risk, but in life, you either take the risk and succeed, or you take the risk and fail, or you don't take the risk at all and fail. So I think it's worth a shot, and I think really we can utilize COVID dollars to pay. We're not locked into a yearly contract. There is a monthly contract. This organization is connected to Ohio business, and they're also connected to a lot of worldwide businesses. They have Coke, FedEx, Google, the NFL, Walmart, Facebook. I really think that the gentlemen who are partners in this company, I've had 2 or 3 meetings with them so far, and I like what I see, and I think really it's time to do something different, to become something different. So I want you guys, and any questions you should have, if you would like to meet or talk to these individuals, they would definitely, the state capital budget requests are due by the end of March. So I kind of don't want to sit around and debate this too much. It's not something that I think that is going to hurt us. I think it's going to help us.
Mayor, what you just said, we're already behind.
Right.
From what we were met with, we're already behind. So just to support
Right.
what you just said.
No, and I think that you hear lobbying and, a lot of times in our area, we've had lobbyists who have gotten our representation in trouble. I don't look at it to be anything like that. I look at it more as a consultant to package and to connect us to policymakers and decision makers and funding sources. So I think, one big deal, you look at the expense, but one big deal, one big intel with a $20 billion investment, then you're gonna say this cost us peanuts,
So,
and that's kind of what they're connected to corporate America, and they are heavily connected with the state government. So,
Okay.
it's,
I like that it isn't like a yearly contract or anything, but did they say how long we can expect before we start seeing some results of the effort that they're putting? Towards us.
I don't think they guarantee
Yeah.
anything, but I think from day one, you're going to see, I think it's gonna be pretty instantaneous, with like the project we want to work on with the multi-use
Mhm.
path. That's someone that we can say, here's exactly what our idea is, go out, get with the rail commission. That's more of an ally. It's to me, I compare it to being that high school senior that's really good at basketball. And they don't just say, I'm going into the NBA. Yeah, that was a dream. You don't go at the NBA and say, I'm an all-star.
Mhm.
Let me in. You call an agent, you call a person who says, I'm going to direct you in the right direction. You're going to benefit, I'm going to benefit, we're all going to benefit. So to me, it's kind of, if you want to become something, you get that connection and that network to become that.
We would have our own person from this group that would represent us. I know we probably have communication with all of them, but say Adrian Robbins, would that be someone who would come to Coshocton when we had a need, or
Yeah.
that'd be our
Yeah,
point of
most-
contact?
Yeah, well, she
way I
is
understood that.
She is in communicate. She's been
Well,
hired.
yeah,
as
she's
director of
announced that she's
communication.
leaving Channel 4 and going with this group, so it is public
Right.
now. so.
Yeah. I didn't know if it was public or
It
not. I
is.
wanted you to get in trouble. not me.
Right. And they're already working here, correct?
Yes, they are representing Standard Power. I believe Lanny they are going to help Lanny with our town Coshocton. So they're already indirectly, without representing us, they're already here.
Right. And they have
representing
not-
Standard Power.
This is a first for them, correct, as far as
The-
representing
the
a municipality?
Correct.
Correct.
And it's kind of, I don't want to say it's unheard of, but it's pretty unheard of.
It's uncharted waters.
A city our size to
Yeah.
say, we are going to hire a firm like this to lead the way and say, here's what we're gonna, we can help with strategic planning, we can help with connecting. So to me, it's an open door to the governor of Ohio.
So as a city council, what would you need us to do if we were in support of this?
I believe all I would need to do is get a spending appropriated or I'm sorry. Sherry, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We would need council's approval to spend COVID dollars to pay for this consultant.
So just be a resolution or?
Yeah, right, Bob? All right, am I getting the hang of this yet or
Are
what?
you signing a contract?
Yeah, I believe we would be signing a contract, so.
The ordinance authorizing
Right.
the service director to sign the contract. And assuming this money's gonna come out of that COVID pot, Sherry, you probably know better than I what exactly we need in order.
Yeah, well, if you have the contract and everything and yeah, your ordinance, like you said, that would be correct. And then we would just need, it could be approved under the admin expenses with the filing for that. But I was gonna kind of touch on that, today I sat through the overview of the final rule of the ARPA funding. And, you know, Mark, they really opened up kind of the reins on that, if we filed under a standard loss, they, of revenue loss, they have opened it up to $10 million. So if you had under $10 million in revenue loss, I don't want to say it's free game because you still have to go by all the appropriate channels, but it's really opened it up for general government services. And, you know,
Under 10 million, they've loosened up the standards,
but there's still all the reporting requirements.
right.
There's still, you have to, if you go with certain water projects, you still have the procurement regulations and all that kind of stuff. And but that could be something that would be captured under admin expenses. But other than that, Julian and Grube had suggested the easiest thing for us to do is to charge salaries to the grant dollars, general fund salaries. And that way, and that actually would be, I mean, it's total council's decision, is any general government admin staff. It's even opened up for paving and for repairs that you might have in just your general government services.
Right, and I've reached out to Sherry to say, hey, will you look into this deeper? Is this an acceptable way to spend the money? And in the words of what you guys have already approved in that Julian and Groove, the requirements, it says recipients may use funds for administering the CLFRF program, including cost of consultants to support effective management and oversight, including consultation for ensuring compliance with legal, regulatory, and other requirements. So this is really, you know, to me, hiring this firm is about, COVID has created a housing shortage. So I want SVP to reach out and sell a company who builds houses to, hey, we have 50 acres, come build houses, you know. And then with that, they can also go to the state house and say, how do you want to grow this area if you're not going to fund roads for new subdivisions? So it's kind of an all encompassing approach to help us.
Are you looking at like a 6 month or a year?
I really think a year
I think we'll do a year.
with the scope of the work. I mean, because if you're,
Didn't he say, I'm sorry to interrupt again, but didn't he say if after 6 months, if we don't like what we're
yeah,
doing,
get out.
he
we'll
said
get
it
out?
at any
Okay,
time. So we're not
Yeah.
locked into it. So if we get 6 months in and say,
What have you
this
done
isn't
for me?
working, yeah, what have you done for me lately? Like, we can say, we're not gonna do this. So, and I think we'll know pretty quick because, you know, I think with what's going on in New Albany, you know, we're connected to Licking County. We're not that far away. My number one thing now is let's complete the 4-lane.
Yeah.
And like, they're in the state house, let's complete that. So there's not like one thing that I can say, like, they're only gonna work on one thing.
We have the funds in the COVID money, $100,000 to see it through for a year.
Right now, there's 488, 301.98. But council, you know, will also have to decide, you know, what you're going to use it for going forward, because we should get another 588.
I think we have till 2024 to, I think it's like 20. they've extended
26.
26, yeah, so.
But I mean, you know,
Right.
what's my comment is, you know, it's a great opportunity to help our general fund. You know, going
Right.
where I was 2 weeks ago, you know, so
Right. No,
I would
and
like to
I-
see some appropriations
Right. And-
into this for a salary line item and start to be able to, at least towards the end of the year, see, because
Right, and I agree
Yeah.
with that because we have other money funneling down for infrastructure. So projects that and it's just gonna be a balancing act, but I'd rather have money in the general fund and use money coming from, from the feds and from the state for infrastructure projects. So it's kind of our balancing money of, keeping things straight, but I completely agree with that.
Well, I'm not speaking for the rest of the council, but we've had this conversation. I just think if we do this and we get the money, then what's our priority list? Where's the money going? What projects? If it's housing development, great. Let's do it. That's just my opinion. But, just to go out and have people lobbying for money and just say, okay, well, we got this, now what are we gonna spend it on? Then, then we're scouter with the money. I like to have the target goals.
And that's fine, and whatever, right now, to me, residential development, growth and annexation, multi-use path, downtown. I mean, that's kind of my focus, as far as I'm concerned, and anything that you guys want to focus on is we can't have a laundry list of things because nothing's gonna get done. So
Right.
we need to kind of agree on, here's the 5 things this year we want you to do. And
Right.
that's where I.
I know Max gave us a project list. And I, just pull 2 or 3 items out of there that we feel needs to be addressed sooner, prioritize those. Like we do our streets and just start crossing them off as we get them done. I still think it's sad we got an area of South Sixth Street that doesn't have city sewer. But, whatever you would determine is a priority, then we need to have a plan.
Right,
Using Tom's verbiage, we need a plan.
right. We need a plan.
But we need to make a decision on this,
Saying we need
if
a
this is
plan,
what we
but
want to
there's
do.
no plan.
Yeah, I just, by listening and reading over their materials, I think it's great. And I know the laundry list is that legal pad you carry around with, that thing's
Right.
full.
Yeah, which
It
one?
is. But, I mean,
Star
the
beside
projects,
Right.
if something at the water plant needs to be done, then that's gotta be a priority where the money's gonna go, or the
Well,
sewer
the
plant,
sewer
or,
digesters.
yeah, I mean, and I think we all agree with that, and I personally, I would just like to see some kind of list where the money's going and what we're
No.
lobbying for.
They will need projects in order to go after money, won't they? I mean,
Right.
I
They're
would
not
assume
just gonna
so.
go say, hey, we need money.
They're gonna have to have
We're gonna
projects.
have those
Right.
projects in place.
I think
before
the biggest thing on my list is the growth of our city and our boundaries and residential. I mean, with announcing 3,000 jobs,
You could get some
65
people
miles
here.
away. I mean, we can-
Absolutely.
and a lot of people, some people want to live in the city. Some people like living in the city. But some people will want an acre lot with a yard and, I think, and
Some
it's
people like
time,
the smaller cities.
and it's time to capitalize on what's going on near us. And it's time to capitalize on the COVID issue, the things that people wanting to get out of the city, people being able to work from anywhere. It's time to say, hey, come here.
Right.
But we can't say, hey, come here and sleep in your car.
No,
know?
I
So
agree. And I
that's-
assume you and Max have already,
Right.
you guys have some ideas about the housing development and stuff.
Right.
So let me ask, when you're saying these projects, okay, so you want to have this firm, which, that's fine, I understand that. But when, if they're going to go out and lobby for dollars, is that for whatever project that might be? I guess maybe I should shut that response down. I'm not following exactly what your intentions are to use the ARPA funding for. Besides, potentially $96,000 for this company. Are you wanting to keep it back to use towards housing development? Are you wanting to keep it towards stormwater or whatever what do we intend to use the money for?
The money for like the remaining ARPA funding.
Yeah,
I'm not in any hurry. I mean, 2026 is a ways away and we have a project list. I could spend that money tomorrow.
I know,
But-
but you know, that's where my concern is going back to the general fund in general services. And, you know, just remember any that, you know, if they come up with anything, this ARPA fund cannot be used for any federal grant match. If we get federal dollars, we can't use this for, it has to be non-federal, we can use it. If there's some other matching funds that we have to have, as long as it's non-federal, we can use it. But I guess I just don't have a picture, and maybe that's what you're trying to hash out here.
You know,
What is
we have wastewater issues.
stormwater?
Yeah, stormwater, we could address those, or, you know, if we need more paving money. But before, they said we couldn't use
Right,
it
but
for,
now
for
you
streets,
can.
and now you can.
Right, I really,
I don't know that we should leave it sit. I'm not saying spend all of
No,
it. We
right.
need to address immediate problems. If
No,
people's
and-
basements are flooding,
no, and we can, but a lot of the projects for 400, you know, whatever we're gonna have left after we pay these guys, 400,000, I can spend it, like, that's what I'm saying,
I know.
it's not a, you know, like, we gotta know right now, with this organization, Sherry, to answer what I think you're asking is they're going to not only be able to funnel that COVID money down, but they're going to be able to get, maybe even get more on top and be watching what the funding is for capturing additional funding from COVID money, so.
So at this point, there is no interest in helping relieve the general fund then out of any of this. money?
He said,
Well,
I
I
think
don't
he
know.
said he was willing
I'm
to,
willing to talk
Spend
about
their
it.
money, not ours.
but
Yeah,
I think
no,
that's,
I'm willing to, like.
I don't want to overstep my
Okay.
boundaries, but
No,
I
I-
think you and Mark probably ought to sit down and say, okay, you know, here's this money, so
Yeah,
how
let's
can
Well,
we?
no, it would
Right.
have to be counseled, because you would have to, the
you-
appropriate,
you
you would
can
have to
bring
give
it
the
to us.
You can bring it
appropriations.
to us,
Should
you
meet
two would
and
have
decide,
to,
okay,
if you guys come up with a plan.
yeah, then bring it to us. You know more about it than we do.
Really,
At least for
I
now.
mean, when you look at it, it's a wash, because either you're gonna spend it on salaries or you're gonna spend it on a project. It's gonna get spent, but the thing where I'm not like, maybe that's where you're misunderstanding me. I'm in no hurry. Let's make a tactful, educated, like jump on it right now. Let's make that, let's get together and make that decision, not.
Plan.
Right, let's plan, like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm not against that at all,
Okay,
at all. Because if it can, anything that can help the general fund, if we can help ourselves, that's where I look at this too, is this is something that's never been done. What better time to do it than with money that if worst possible case scenario, nothing happens, it's the worst decision we ever made, guess what? We didn't lose anything. So that's why I like doing this now, because it is something that we can say, we tried it. It really didn't work that good.
so
So-
do you want to ask the finance committee then to go ahead and have in 2 weeks, since it's a committee meeting, and that's what this, you know, really for the next 2 weeks, do appropriation to the admin expense line under the ARPA fund, you know, for
Yeah,
X amount,
Yeah.
you know, if you want to round it up,
That's-
$100,000.
My question is, in 2 weeks, do we want
I want to.
Do we wanna bring this to council in 2 weeks?
Yes, because I don't want to.
And hopefully vote on it that way, and I'm sure if you guys have any questions, you need to bring them that night.
What's everybody else?
And if you
Yeah, I haven't-
want,
I'm for
if
Yeah.
you
I think
want
it's-
me to have Darren or have Kevin on a call on a Zoom, we can do it.
Sounds like everybody's in favor of it.
Michelle, what
Let's
do you
do it.
think?
I think it sounds good.
Can they give me a contract by then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, actually, I'll email it to you right now.
I'd rather have it in hard copy.
Okay. Well, Chad will give you his.
Yeah, I like that there's no, you know, yearly commitment or anything like that. It sounds really strong.
I think it sounds good and
Where did we hear about them? Where did we meet them? How do we know SP?
Probably from Lanning.
And Standard Power.
I think, yeah, Standard Power Lanning.
That's
I-
that
They're
Bitcoin.
involved with Standard.
Okay.
Power.
Yeah, Standard Power. is-
Okay.
Landon be the one guy from being involved with Mike DeWine's campaign.
Right.
Okay,
So, yeah.
They give, just for my 2 cents, and I've sat in on all the meetings. And I think what brought it home to me was when we had, there was no DD grant out for $250 million. We got zero of that money as a city. By having a firm like this, we get a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Maybe not at the table, but we're going to be talking to the people that's at the table, rather than just sending in a list from the county and saying, this is our #1 priority, and nobody
We
would
have-
call
right,
you.
we'll have
Ask
someone in the
Game about it.
steakhouse saying, hey,
We'll have somebody that I can call and say, hey, we really need this project.
right.
Go forth and do your work. And if you think about it, I mean, 96,000 is a lot to us, but if we was a business,
Yeah.
you're talking about one person's salary
But
for a year.
we're working
Yeah.
right
So-
now on
It's-
Warsaw.
yeah.
And if we got the majority of the funding for the Warsaw Waterline project, say we got 8 million and they lobbied and we got 8 million, they just got paid for.
That helps the
So it's
county, the
kind of-
people of Warsaw don't have to pay much, much of a debt reduction.
Glenn, what's your
Win-win.
thoughts?
Sounds great. I do have one question,
Okay.
just minor question, detail. How did they derive 8,000? I mean, they haven't worked with a community this small. Pull it out of their hat or,
I said, you know me, I said, it seems like a lot of money. Can you do any less? And they're pretty, actually, I think the normal friends and family cost is about 12,000 a
oh,
month. So I think, I don't know if they have a matrix.
I think because we would be the first,
This would be the
they want to
They
get
have-
someone involved and
they
make sure
have-
it
I
works.
mean,
I think his reply was if he went any lower, that he wasn't going to do
Yeah,
it.
because you were there.
Yes.
And that was the third time.
I think I asked the
Yeah,
question.
so I almost scared him off by asking him if they do any lower. So I think when you look at who they have on the team, I think between attorneys and consulting people and having a actual broadcaster that they have as director of communications, I think that their team is strong, and I think that's kind of why the cost is where it's at.
And I have a feeling, since we are the first, that they're gonna work their butts off
Right, to prove
for us
themselves.
to prove themselves to others.
And it's not like the company just fell out of the sky. They've
Sure.
been representing large corporations. So,
Yeah.
to me, the connection with corporate America and with policymakers, it's a home run. I say to myself, it's the best decision that we will ever make. So when it's the worst, you can remind me I said that. I'm blaming on Roger.
So we'll have this for
I'm used
2
to it.
weeks.
so it would be one ordinance that authorizes the service director to sign a contract with SPP.
Mhm.
And a second, as part of that ordinance, there would be an appropriation out of administrative expenses of the ARPA funds. Is that,
that's what I was gonna ask. I mean, do you want 96,000 then for 1 year
I
appropriated?
would, just so we don't have to come back in 6 months.
I will ask at this time then, do you want to go ahead and do some appropriations for general government salaries out of the ARPA fund at this time?
I like your suggestion of doing that.
What do you, I mean, what number are you thinking?
Here's the thing.
I mean, we can use it all, but the 96. I mean,
No,
that's right. I mean,
No, I
It's-
understand what you're saying. I think you and Mark know, you know more than Mark.
Right.
So, in my opinion, I think you and Mark probably need to gather and say, Mark, can we allocate this much money toward the general fund?
it's, well,
Well, what,
No, it's not gonna go to the general fund.
or to the salaries, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
what I will do is, internally, well, I'll have to create a distribution code. And salaries will automatically be posted to.
Right.
To there.
I mean,
To
are you
that
thinking a couple $100,000? I mean, to
I
me.
mean, whatever it's gonna help our
Right.
general fund, yeah. I mean, my thought is if we want to start with that. I mean, that's,
but with-
unless
with that
council
said-
wants to use it on other items.
With that
storm
said,
sewer
I
and
would
so
like
forth.
to strategically, I think we should probably stall that and see where we go with SPP and see how many other dollars we can get, because I'm balancing we have a project list, so I think strategically, it would be better to kind of wait 6 months and see what kind of flow, what kind of funding's funneling down, and kind of just sit on it, because we don't have this year. If we get, really, the way I look at the ARPA with paying salaries is, if we get in a position where we have to, then let's do it. If we don't, let's see what projects, you see where I'm at?
Can that money be used on our end as a match? Let's say we do have a grant that comes forward, they say you need to have a 25% match.
Non-federal,
Can,
as long as it's non-federal.
So state we can use.
And
so it
it's,
might be good to save back.
So that's kind
for that.
of, no, I agree with using it for that, but if we're not forced to do that, I think it's something that at the end of the year, towards the last quarter of this year, we should see where we're at, and then maybe last quarter, beginning of 23, look and see where we're at, and then go from there.
it's just sitting in a fund that we can move at any time.
It's-
So it's always
So
there.
like
We
an-
need it.
it'll be
Right.
set now.
Okay.
We can just watch the general fund and how it goes, but, I mean, that's truly gonna be one of the easiest ways to, without
No.
going through your procurement.
No, and I
everything
agree
for all
with
your
that,
projects.
because
I mean, I think that's
can
that was my takeaway today from everything is, and she had even said, I'm gonna lose so many of you right now because you can use this for general government administration.
and I
So you
look
didn't have
at
to
it as
listen
like a
after
rain.
I kept
it's a
listening,
rainy
I
day
listened to
fund.
the whole thing, but
So-
Because you can
If
see
we have
where
this on the
you're at.
next agenda, we're probably gonna have to
I'll just do
pass
them,
it that night in 3 readings.
the contract, that's.
The,
SPP.
yeah, the SPP, the 96,000, because if we wait any longer, we go 3 readings, we're looking at the end of February.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, and then you can miss out. The capital budget, that's another thing. 2 years ago, the capital budget, Coshocton County at 300,000 total out of a 2-year capital budget. Which
Well, we
is-
didn't have any representation.
Right, which is garbage. I mean, we didn't gain money, so that's really what we want to focus on is getting funds from the state in that budget, because the state's sitting on a pile of money, so it's our time to get some.
Can we give the first reading at our next meeting? And then do the second and third at the following meeting?
That still puts
To
us
give
at the end of
people-
February, though.
But if you did 3, then it puts you in March. The only thing that I'm concerned about is if somebody, you're gonna allocate 100 grand. And if somebody in the community wants to know, they should have the opportunity to.
Agreed.
I mean, that's just my opinion. You guys vote on it. I don't.
I don't, I think after this meeting, you have a couple weeks to see where it's at. And I mean, to me, if anyone has an issue with it, it's kind of a thing that I see we need to do. And if you have an issue, if 5 people say, no, we shouldn't do it, or we're not gonna do it, it's kind of what we got into with Dora, with like 3 people didn't want it, and then it just turned into fiasco. And once again, I'm not telling you guys what to do.
I'm just,
I
it
would
seems
like-
like we have an awful lot of ordinances that we pass emergency.
We've got 3 weeks before our next meeting too, just because of the way Mondays fall.
True.
So we won't have one the 31st or the 7th.
I mean,
So
it's
we'll
like I
wait till the
said, it's up to you
14th.
guys. I mean, if you guys want to do it,
I mean, we're discussing this here now, but maybe a real discussion in tonight's meeting. Just to get the word out there, so that if there are people that disagree or get upset, gives them more time to consider it.
Should we? Jack, when I say this, should we maybe have a meeting on the 31st, next Monday? And have a first reading and then approve it at our first meeting in February? With the second, third reading,
I'm good with that.
have a
Yeah.
5-minute meeting.
I'll do whatever you guys want to do. I mean, because I think this is important. I know that we do a lot of 3 readings in one night.
Too many.
And I mean, if we have to have a meeting on
No,
the
I-
31st, I'm okay with that.
And I want it,
Like you said, 5
5-minute,
minute, it's not gonna take
I
that long.
want it to be as open and as transparent.
I know you do.
as Possible.
I-
I'm not trying.
I think everybody does
Well, we
Yeah.
spent probably
Yeah.
40 minutes talking about it right
tonight.
now.
Right.
so-
Yeah,
And you do have one here that's time sensitive if it can affect what we get
Yes.
with the capital budget.
I mean,
Some of them
is
we passed 3 readings. it's really
that
not
what we
time
want to do?
sensitive.
And then
Have a-
I'll have to get a hold of,
The alternative
Kaylee?
would be to set a public hearing before the council meeting on February 14th.
oh, that's an idea, then
Set a
discuss all
public
3.
hearing half hour before and let everybody come in. I don't think anybody's going to object to this, but if they did, they'd have their time
There you
from
go.
6:30 to 7 to object. And then if you're uncomfortable voting it through on that night, then you can, do one reading. If you are comfortable, because nobody's objected, then you vote on it.
Sounds good.
It's fine with me.
Yeah, that works.
Way to go, Bob.
I look at this as,
That's why you're
it's a chance of a lifetime to try
Absolutely.
something with
Yeah.
money that we would have never had.
Sure.
So that's kind of where I'm at with the no risk, no reward. We don't know, we don't have a crystal ball but I think with what's been presented, I think we're gonna hit a home run.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely worth a try. And one thing I know is that we wouldn't be where we are in our business if we didn't branch out to people that could teach us something new and do things we can't do. So I'm excited about it.
So is that what we want to do? 30-minute
Yeah.
public meeting
Yeah.
before February 13th,
Yeah, let's do
14th?
And I also would like to do the meeting on the 31st too.
No,
I don't
I
think
think
there's-
that's taking the place of it.
Yeah,
And
that's
then we'll do
taking the
that public
place.
Hearing instead.
Okay.
I'd like some chocolates for Valentine's Day too.
You're not allowed.
Preferably
Sugar-free. Okay. All right, so on the ordinances, I had a typo. I added on the agenda 1-22, so I'll need a motion tonight to remove that because we did the 3 readings at our last meeting. So I need to remove that. I typed it up, Amy didn't, so don't be pointing fingers. And then it's the only other ordinances we have are 222 and 223 for the 3rd readings tonight. Yeah, 222 and 223, right?
822 is the second reading. Street one. We're still working on some final tweaks to that. Is that correct?
222 took its course,
222.
and 322 and 322.
We're both at second reading, then we have the 2 at third.
They're both the second readings, okay.
Yeah.
The one on the farm animals and then the trailers.
And then just to follow up, I went to Ms. Helms's home and took her stuff back to her. Just so you know, couldn't get a hold of her until Bob told me that she worked all day. So I finally got a hold of her on the phone just to inform you guys. I let her know that Jeff and Bob were doing their due diligence and basically, once Bob files, and I just told her, I said, look, once Bob files the charges and everything, it goes to court. It's on the judge. And in my discussion with her, it was she'd called the cops maybe a couple more times to be up there. So I know, and the only way this is gonna end is if they either make up or one of them moves.
Yeah, and
I
I
mean, that's,
told, I'm glad, I apologize for missing the last meeting, but it probably would have went a lot different if I.
no,
if
it
I
wouldn't
would've
have,
been
no, it
here.
wouldn't have. I wouldn't have let you
It
do
would
it.
have been more fun.
No, but
I
anyhow,
suggested. the
she was,
moving.
she was, she thanked me for calling and she has a better understanding about you two and what you guys are doing. So I don't know for how long, but she does.
She was back in my office
No doubt.
the
She told me,
week after.
yeah,
I also did a drive-by and checked it out, and so, yeah.
they do things to each other. And that's, you know, and I think it's,
What's
Is
that?
that your work?
That's mine.
you know, I think without
Last 2 years.
without bringing out their things in public, I think that's good enough. You know, I told her that I appreciate Bob spending the time he did with me, and I know he's got a stack of paperwork and videos. I did ask her if she's going to do any more videos, that she edit them, so you know right where to look. So I did relay that message, so. Roger, you have any updates for Port Authority?
Really nothing new. Did meet with her a week ago Friday. There's consideration on, I think, demoing the glove factory. I think there's some other entities that would like to move that money different direction, but we said if the glove factory's in the city, let's take care of the city. Get that thing down. It's a safety issue. She didn't really talk about any businesses that may be relocating here. She said she would personally call the gentleman in Columbus about his plastic business he would like to locate here. And Tom and I offered to drive around town with him if he wanted to try to find some property, some land to build that business on.
I never received that email with the.
I did get it.
You did
I'll
get
send it to you.
Okay.
Tom, did you get a email with the
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint? Oh, let's make sure you get it. Study's still going on regarding the feasibility study regarding the JED versus annexation. It'd be interesting to see that. Other than that, they're really, I can't think of much else.
Has she talked about any kind of more development out by the new hospital, like a restaurant or two, or she pushing
She
for
never
anything
brought
like
any of that up.
No,
but
not yet.
I agree with you. I mean, if there's gonna be a hospital out there, we should look at like an Applebee's
or
or,
something, you know, I
Be a
think.
good place for you to build one.
Yeah. Not a Jollies. But, you know, I just think that's something I think she needs to look into
Well,
because I don't know how many people that's gonna employ, but well, they're gonna have to eat somewhere.
and fast.
You know, right. And,
second meeting in February, she'll be here.
Mhm.
okay,
But we'll meet, we have another meeting before that, before she'll come to council, but I'll bring that up. Other than that, unless Hills, you can think of anything that,
No, she talked about the area down around Wiley's. What to do with that, since you go out of the city limits, then back in the city limits. So she discussed that. And she's have a discussion with Wiley's about that.
we just insist if they're recruiting businesses, we would like to see them, if possible, located in the city.
Yes.
So we keep emphasizing that.
And even she brought up the housing thing and, you know, we got on that a little bit.
But you know, if you tear the glove factory down, you know, how many houses can we put there? A nice little subdivision or, you know,
Or
in that
business.
area.
Or business.
Or a
Plastic
business,
spray.
right.
There are 8 lots.
There's 7 or 8 lots
Yeah, I
there
think there's
Right.
that are nice sized lots.
So, you know, I mean, that's something to consider. So,
I think that's about it. Tom was in sunshine at that meeting.
Yeah.
Um,
He's always.
I know, Mark, tonight we're Terry Bain to the City Health Board, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
and I think that's just a unofficial record.
Yeah, we'll
I'm
do
not
that.
sure.
We're gonna do that right after the minutes tonight.
Okay.
Appoint it and vote on it, get that done. Let's see. You have anything else, Mark?
Just want to mention trash pickup due to snow. If they can't get to your can, I know Kimball emailed me and said the trash is buried, and I'm like, we got a foot of snow, so, we definitely want people to be aware of moving trash cans out or digging them out to where Kimball can get to them. We've been plowing. I'll let Max talk a little more. We went through about 400 tons of salt, which equals about $30,000. Plus 16-hour shifts and fuel for the trucks. We've had some equipment issues. Want people to know, unless they have a magical way to plow snow without plowing driveways and or cars parked on the streets, they can come talk to me. I don't know, the best way to do it is not park on the street. We actually have an ordinance for certain streets that you over 3 inches, you shouldn't park on the street. So I'll be posting that to Facebook sometime. Get everyone, and shoveling your walks is required by the property owner. So that's
Cambridge Road's
something-
not very nice.
Yeah, it's, we have kids walking to school, walking to the bus stop.
In the street.
Some kids aren't spoiled. They don't have a ride to school, so want people to be aware of that.
There is an island of snow at the top of Cambridge Road Hill.
At
Where the-
Skyline.
Yeah, that probably needs to be moved because that's a bus turnaround, and I don't know how the bus is maneuvering.
Yeah. Main Street, we spent about 3 days. Why there are mounds of snow in the middle of Main Street is because if we plow them all to the sidewalk, then the businesses are plowed in. So that's why Facebook is not only experts for COVID, vaccines and politics, but it's also an expert panel of snow plowers.
People have to understand, we got 11 inches of snow. That's
Right.
more snow than
And-
we've
and
had in
we-
20
and
years.
It's
And
bad.
I can
All
tell
at
you, Main
once,
Street
it's bad.
is fabulous.
Right,
It's
and
so
that's-
much better
and-
than
and
it's
they-
been
and
year
they
over year.
removed it.
It's
They
always
are-
been mountains in
yeah,
the center.
they
We try
are
to climb
working-
over them to get, our
we
customers
are
are
working
happy. It's so nice.
And if someone.
I know,
wants-
right? It's
If
not-
someone thinks they need more attention, please call Public Works.
Right?
Talk to Angie. We are doing our best. Our people, we have a truck sitting idle that's brand new that we couldn't get a bed for. And it's sitting in Zanesville at Ace Truck. And we can't get a bed for it. And it's brand new and we need it, but there's nothing we can do. So we have the people, we have the manpower, and I appreciate those people. But we need the equipment, and salt is $75 a ton, $78 a ton. So want people to realize, yes, I want clear streets. I actually just want to stop snowing, be 80 degrees and sunshine. I can't make that happen. Another thing I'm working on, and I do agree with the snow experts on Facebook on this one. GPS, me and Jeff have kind of been working on GPS for, I'm probably not gonna put on every city vehicle, but we are going to put like plow trucks, mowers, like in the summer, if we had a mower overturn and they're mowing out on the bridge somewhere, we know where that equipment is. The programs also help with asset management, if it needs an oil change, if it has a check engine light on. So it'll help manage our fleet. I think it's $18-20 a month per vehicle. So that's something that I've been working on as well. And a million other things. And want to say Terry had her service on Saturday. Thankful to everyone being there. We got through it. City Hall will never be the same, and just Beaumont has taken on her role and continues to learn. So she will be missed at City Hall.
Can I just ask a question? I noticed the county, they did all the sidewalks around the court square on their little tractor. Is there any way we can work with them and have them do, I don't know who it was,
Like,
and have them do our,
did we do some sidewalks downtown?
I think
is there any way we can team with them and have them do the bridge after they get done? Because I know my wife, she's the attendance secretary, and she called because there was a few kids that couldn't get to school because they walked that bridge.
We did the.
I know you did it, but it was a day or two
So-
later,
so
but that's
here-
what I'm asking.
so
Can we
here's-
team with the county just to say, hey, you know, can you just do our
And
bridge?
We can try, and with that said, I want to explain, we got like 6 people.
Yeah, and I understand
So
that. That's
if-
why I'm
So
asking
if
if
they're
we
not
can.
plowing, they're removing snow.
Right.
Or then they're going out to the bridge, so it's kind of we can ask.
Yeah, I mean,
I can-
if we just ask and
Yeah,
they
I
say
mean,
no,
we
then
can-
hey, we
right.
did our due diligence and
I know.
we're trying.
I know.
I understand we're trying. There's a
I know.
lot of snow.
ODOT typically helped with Cambridge Road
Mhm.
and 541, and they're short on people, so.
Well, coming here, there was a car in the right lane going down the hill before you got to the turn. And it had traffic. That hill was bad.
Yeah,
That's one of the slickest times I've ever had come. That's the second
Right.
car I've seen off the road in the same spot. So I don't know when the guys are going back out, but that area in particular.
I know
needs hit.
Cambridge Road, we are not getting the support we have in past.
Yeah, used to,
years.
ODOT used to just bounce.
Yeah. Yeah,
$78 a ton.
Yeah.
Used to be 20 something.
Mark, you mentioned no parking ordinances. Should we review that and see if we should expand it?
I honestly, the easiest way to do it is to me, at about 6 inches, because the current ordinance says 3. To me, that's kind of a low number. I would say at 5 or 6 inches, just no parking on the street, and then people are gonna say, I have nowhere to park.
Right, we're
And
gonna,
then you get in the pool, you start towing cars. Like, I mean, once it's 3 inches legally on the roads that are spelled out in the ordinance, by law, we can start pulling cars. The problem and getting people to understand, they go down the road, they might come back up the road, they get 2 paths, at least 1 good path, maybe 2. And then what they do is they push snow to the curb, but they don't do that like all in one swipe. They come back to get curb to curb. When there's a car there, they have to go around the car. They have to stay 2 feet away from the car. They're gonna hit the car with the plow. So they stay 2 feet away from that car. That's why it's out. And then we bury people in. Well, that's some things I've seen over the weekend. I was going up to Green Drive on Kenilworth, and the plow truck had been there and came back down, but then someone conveniently plowed their driveway out into the road. It wasn't bad, but it still snow covered the road. So there's things that people, my best suggestion is wait till the plow truck's been down your street, wait till it slows down snowing, dig your car out, but when you dig your car out, don't throw it in the middle of the street, because
Right.
guess what? The plow is going to come back down and push all that snow where you just dug out. So to me, if you have an option of off-street parking, that's what we want you to do. We can't plow the roads and not cover your driveway, because a snow plow pushes snow, it doesn't make it disappear. So
We
I'm
need to head
done
over to
talking
council.
about snow. It'll be
Okay.
grass next.
Like 80 degrees out
Oh, it's so warm.
Today is Monday, January 24th, 2022 at 7 o'clock. It's a regularly scheduled city council meeting. Call to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Andrews. Barcroft.
Here.
Gross. Johnson.
Here.
Mishler.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Turner. Here.
I need a motion to excuse Kaylee Andrews and Mike Gross.
I'll make a motion, we excuse Kaylee and Mike.
I'll second. Clerk, call the roll.
Barcroft.
Yes.
Gross. Johnson.
Yes.
Mishler.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
We stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take a moment and a moment of silence for Ms. Cherry Wilson. We're missing a stalwart. So then we'll do the invocation. Heavenly Father, thanks for allowing us all to be here. Watch over us, guide us as we try to make decisions for our community. Watch over our workers, keep them safe as they're out on the streets. Just do the things that you would have us to do. We give you this praise in your name. Amen. Council, your email the minutes from the January 10th, 2022 council meeting. Anybody have questions or comments?
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second. Clerk, call the roll.
Barcroft.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Mishler.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, I know that the mayor has made a request to add Terry Bain to the City Health Board. I need a motion to approve that appointment. So move on Barcroft.
Second.
Clerk call the roll.
Barcroft,
Yes.
Gross, Johnson,
Yes.
Mishler.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Do you have any public input? Okay, I have a request for council to remove ordinance 1-22 from the agenda. The typo on my bad, we passed that.
I'll make a motion, we remove 1-22 from the second reading.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Barcroft,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Mishler.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Mayor, you have anything to add?
Just want to welcome Amy. You'll have a nameplate sometime. I think Bob ordered a nameplate, so you'll be official.
Thank you.
Just want to remind people for the public record that the sheriff calls the snow emergency levels. So if you disagree or agree, please feel free. You know the number. I'm not going to give it publicly, so.
I have had questions on that. I didn't know what answer it, so.
My
Sheriff,
kids always say, Dad, you need to call level 3, and I'm like, not in my department. So I envy you, Sheriff. Yeah. So just want to remind people once again, we're not trying to plow your cars or driveways in. If you can come up with a mechanism to make snow magically disappear, I'll be here. Call me, email me.
question I receive, and I'll let you give me an answer, because I know it's probably not possible. Question I get is, why can't we delineate between maybe level 2 in the county and level 1 in the city?
It's all or nothing.
Okay, that's what I figured. That's- I'll give that answer now.
Yes, sir.
Official. Thank you.
Max, we didn't get to you in committee. Do you have anything to report?
I don't have a lot more what Mark talked about. I would just follow up a little bit on Sherry, you know, what y'all into all of us, and speak on behalf of self-administration and family. We appreciate all the support that the residents give during their time of illness, and all the support council give during their time away from this work. And she'll be hard to replace. But, we will get through that as she would want us to. And everybody, I thought her service was very nice Saturday, and road representative Cherry was very well. So thanks to council for all you guys done. Believe it or not, we've started on the 8th and 9th Street water line project in the blizzard. I believe it was inserted valve completed today.
It should have been,
It looked to me like I drove up there tonight, and to me like that's in place.
Pat would have left us what was done.
They didn't legal, it was getting.
It was probably a new 5 o'clock, you should have
Yeah.
gone slow. with the water.
So, I'll ask the residents on 8th and 9th Street, this is a very important project for us from a firefighting standpoint. Obviously, the weather is not gonna be cooperative for a while, and just, exercise caution. If you don't need to go down 8th, if you can go around 9th and in the back way right now while they're working. We appreciate it, and, we'll get that knocked out, what, 5-6 months, I think. So
They have 260 days by the contract.
Time the snow melts.
Mark talked about the snow plowing. We got 4 trucks out. Was working over tonight. They'll be coming in the wee hours of the morning, starting again, putting down salt. Gets too cold, of course, the salt doesn't work very well. It gets, below that 18-degree mark, but just everybody's patience and watch your speed, and we'll get through this snow emergency as well. So kind of where all of our efforts have been looked at for the last week. So if you have any questions,
Any questions? Thanks, Max. Well, Director Bob, you have anything?
Just, there was some discussion tonight at the committee meeting about the possible tear down of a glove factory here in Coshocton. I just remind council that that building is still privately owned. The reason why that's probably being bantered about is because Jeff and I have been pressuring the owner to get that building tore down or secured for probably 7, 8 months now. He did enter into a contract with a company out of Fort Washington to tear it down. That company has not done anything with respect to that contract. So Jeff and I are going to be pursuing charges. As part of that, I was contacted last week or the week before by legal representative for the owner of the company who had expressed interest in deeding the property either to the city or to the land bank. I expressed to that lawyer that we would be interested if he was sincere, and for that lawyer to gauge that sincerity. I've not heard back. So if we don't get an answer as to the turning over the ownership of that property soon, we would be pursuing charges in municipal court.
Any questions? Thanks, Bob. Auditors report, Sherry, you have anything for us?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Sheriff Crawford, you have anything for us?
Nothing to add. I echo the mayor and service director's message. Be careful out there in the snow, and we're currently under level 2.
Questions? Thanks, sir. Jeff, you have anything with property code?
Just would remind the public that if you have a sidewalk in front of your house or you're a business, you have a sidewalk in front of your house, it is your responsibility to clear that sidewalk. And we do have an ordinance that you cannot remove that snow from your property. So you can't shove it out of your driveway across the street and against the curb on the neighbor's property. It has to stay on your property.
Rusty, you have anything for
I
us?
do not, sir, unless you have questions for me.
Do you have anything? Utilities, Pedro?
Yes, I do have one thing. I've emailed everybody my monthly report, look at the water and sewer pages, maybe at next committee meeting, we'll have a little time to discuss that. I would like at the next council meeting, a resolution authorizing the service director in a contract with Arcadis to do the preliminary engineering through a high EPA, 0% loan, 5 years. If we don't do the construction in 5 years, we'll have to pay the loan off. If we do the construction with 5 years, we can roll that loan cost of $300,000 into the project cost. But as we discussed a little bit with Mark, with SMP and capital outlay, we're looking at 8-9 months to do design, and you need that before you'll get funded anywhere. So it's something from wastewater side on the digesters, that we need to get started just because it takes so long to get this project, process rolling. So we just need a resolution, and we'll talk about it more at the next committee meeting, what it's for. That's the basic intent. Get that resolution authorizing them to sign that agreement so we can get a request into OEPA for the loan to get the preliminary design engineering started.
That was the packet that you included?
Yeah, if you looked at Arcadis stuff, it was very well written. It kind of went into great detail what they're looking at. And they're looking at, $6 million time to install it. And that's probably take care of a third of the needs down there, but it's the most critical right now.
Are you asking for legislation at the next meeting or time to discuss it at the committee?
I'd like to bring the resolution at the next
I
mean.
don't think it needs to be a resolution. I think it needs to be an ordinance.
Okay,
If the service director is going to sign a
Okay.
contract.
okay,
But, so you're asking for the ordinance for the next meeting?
yes.
So I don't know if you want to talk to the ordinance committee tonight or whatever you want to do.
They're all here, so we'll get them real quick.
Appreciate that, Bobby.
Thank you. Do you have anybody else here? Okay, we'll go into legislation. We have none at the first reading. At the second reading, ask the clerk to give a second reading of ordinance 222.
An ordinance to amend chapter 917 street excavation and curb cuts.
Heard the second reading of 222. Anybody have any questions or comments? Take its course. Ordinance 222 will take its course. Still at the second reading. I'll ask the clerk to give the second reading of ordinance 3-22.
An ordinance approving and adopting the 21-26 countywide annual natural hazardous migration plan prepared by RFG Associates, Inc.
Heard the second reading of 3-22. Any questions or comments? Ordinance 3-22 will take its course. Legislation at the third reading. I'll ask the clerk to give the third reading of ordinance 56-21.
An ordinance to amend the city of Coshocton codified ordinances 505.06 keeping farm animals.
For the third reading of ordinance 56-21. Question is, should ordinance 56-21 pass? Clerk, please call the roll.
Barcroft,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Mishler,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Ordinance 56-21 is passed. Legislation at the third reading. I'll ask clerk to give the third reading of ordinance 60-21.
An ordinance to amend the city of Coshocton codified ordinance 1149.03 trailers outside camps.
For the third reading of ordinance 60-21. Question is, should ordinance 60-21 pass? Clerk, please call the roll.
Ian Barcroft,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Mishler,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Ordinance 60-21 is passed. We have no resolutions. Any old business? New business? We have communications.
We have a application from the Ohio Department of Commerce for a liquor license for Family Dollar stores on South Second Street.
Do we need to have a public hearing for that? No. Okay. Anything else? Clerk, when's the date and time of our next meeting?
February 14th.
The committee meeting will start at 5:30. Council meeting will start afterwards at 7.
We have a public hearing.
We will have a public hearing beginning at 6:25. That will give us 5 minutes in between for our SPP ordinance. Anyone wants to show up? Need a motion for the meeting to be adjourned? So moved. Mr. Moore? I'll second. Johnson seconded. Call the roll, please.
Barcroft.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Mishler.
Yes.
Moore.
Yes.
Turner.
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned.
You see where Baltimore Wall Street Fire.
Yeah, I saw that on the house, the big